What's up, everybody? This is Rukia Hadassah, giving all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High Yah, and acknowledging and honoring our soon and coming King, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, and also the beautiful Spirit of Wisdom, Pistis Sophia, the Ruach HaKodesh. So, I have a word that I want to share with my people in general. This is not just for Israel. This is not aimed at any specific group. This is for the whole of my people, my nation, who I recognize to be Israel. I realize that many of us, due to the conditioning and reprogramming and propaganda of our oppressors, they pretty much wiped out any knowledge of who we are, and that's evident, very evident in the state and the condition that we are in at this point. Um, if you pay attention, if you're my age or older, you've seen over the past 50 years a dramatic change in the atmosphere and the climate and in the minds and behavior of our people, referring to black people, just to keep it simple. Particularly those of us who were raised or brought up in the American captivity. There's been a particular attack on our minds, and there's a reason for that, but unfortunately, so many do not choose to observe it, and so there's a lot of confusion taking place in the midst of our people right now. And what I want to talk about in particular is the Amber Guyger case, and I'm just speaking straight from the cuff here. I'm not trying to give any particular presentation. I'm speaking from my heart right now. This is straight as the Holy Spirit gives it to me. I'm giving it to you. My soul is troubled right now when it comes to my people. And I understand now what made the Messiah weep as he stood at Lazarus's grave. It wasn't that Lazarus was dead. He'd already could take care of that. He knew that was all right. It was the status of the condition of his people's minds that made him weep. Lazarus was going to be fine, but his people, after all this time of him being right there with him and imparting the knowledge, the wisdom, the peace, the blessings, the healings, everything he did, and they still did not believe. And I suppose he must have had this realization of just how far gone we were even then. But just to fast forward 2,000 years later, oh my, And just like those of the time of Christ raising Lazarus from the dead, we remain in a dead state in captivity. And even as those of us who have been calling for Lazarus to come forth, no matter how loud the call, how clear the call, how urgent the call, there's never a response that matches the call. And as we continue to see the day drawing nearer and nearer, I have no idea when this is going to unfold, but I do see something happening very, very, very soon. Okay? This pattern we're in is not going to keep up much longer. So, those of you who are not on alert, or you're on alert for the wrong things, and you're watching your distractions, and you're watching the impeachment trial, and all of these things have been thrown up at this particular time to gain your attention away from what we should be attending to, which is humbling ourselves, repenting of our sins and our arrogance and our conceitedness and our pride and our lusts, and praying for mercy and praying for this world of whatever He wants to redeem from it. That's what we should be doing. And it troubles my soul deeply that I don't see our people paying attention to signs that are obvious, that we're being drawn away and caused to reject the only truth that can save us right now. This is amazing to me. It's literally the only truth that will save us, that will redeem us, and we are absolutely, wholeheartedly rejecting it without even giving any examination to it, or very little. Or the examination we give it, we go in and base that on some politics or some religious ideology that we've subscribed to. So if it's not fitting with what I believe, I'm going to reject it. It's this kind of tormented thinking that is destroying our people and robbing them of their inheritance. I know this sounds a little bit Wizard of Oz-ish, but we literally are in a position to just click our heels together, proverbially, and it's over. But we have to do it with one voice. And so that's the reason they keep throwing up the distractions, because if we got a group over here talking about this and a group over there talking about this, and we have all these celebrities and the sports entertainment and all of these distractions that they keep a steady supply of every moment of every single day. These distractions are available to you, and they're there for a reason, and they'll stay there for a reason until you decide that you don't want to be distracted anymore. And you want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You have to be willing to put everything on the line to get your freedom from this existence. No one's going to cut you a check out of this existence. No one's going to legislate you out of this existence. There's no superheroes flying in to save the day but one. And his name is Yahweh. That's it. That's it. Yeshua, Jesus, however you want to call his name, that's who's coming. That's it. So, if you can be convinced, that it's a fairy tale and all of this other stuff, while you're seeing the prophecies about this king and this kingdom and these people and all of this unfolding, and you're still refusing to accept it, you're still refusing to believe it, even as it's unfolding, you're in pretty bad shape right now. Not one word of these prophecies have failed. Not one. Not one. Not one. But in all of this time, we have decided we're just gonna reject it without examining it, without proving it. See, the reason I'm able to stand here or sit here and give this message at this moment in my life right now is because he made sure that I would be able to prove his word over and over and over and over again. And so I've tested it. It's tried and tested by me, at least. But you don't get that privilege until he's tried and tested you. And then you have to be willing to walk accordingly. Not according to your own politics and theories and religious denominations and all this other stuff they've thrown, sororities and fraternities and all of these secret society, all of this stuff. No, that can't go into the kingdom. That cannot go into the kingdom. None of that stuff is gonna stand. So if you are still standing here trying to hold on to a position, a status, an identity that does not exist in the kingdom, you're about to go down. You're going to be destroyed with this plantation. And the destruction, if you will, the demolition has already begun. But somehow our enemies keep managing between disasters to get you to quickly return to normalcy. Go back to your nonsense. Go back to your cracking jokes. Go back to your sexting and texting and Snapchatting and Instagramming and all of these things that it just is like, that's your distraction. But your salvation is what you're rejecting for your distraction. Your distraction is keeping you from your salvation. He told us to watch and pray. So, I take the words of Christ very seriously. And I've studied him. He's a fascinating human being. He was a human being. That's what he was. He was born of a man and a woman, born of a woman. So listen to me. Those who consider themselves to be followers of Christ try to adhere to his message and his teachings as closely as we can, because we know that that's how we gain our crown and our reward and our inheritance to the kingdom. It's because we seek first the kingdom of God and all these other things that other people run after, like wealth and riches and land and property and all that stuff. Those people are forfeiting their inheritance by seeking it out in the earth, because he told us to seek things above. And so I take the words of Christ very seriously. I'm not just, it's not just, I'm not one of those people who just say I'm a Christian and don't walk it. I literally walk this out. I'm walking this out by faith. And it's been quite a journey. Discovering that I'm a Hebrew Israelite has only been part of the journey. The biggest part of this journey has been learning how to submit to the will of Yah. And trying to embrace this message and not just act like I'm embracing the message. That was my epiphany. Like, are you gonna do this or you're not gonna do it? And so I took it very seriously that I needed to begin embracing the truth as it's written in the Bible and not as it's spoken from a pastor's mouth, which I depended on heavily back in the day. I didn't study the Bible for myself regularly. I studied it from time to time, yes. But I've never studied the Bible to the extent that I have in the last 4 years. And I'm still, not up to speed, but I've discovered some truths in the last 4 years that just I would not have known. And they're not just biblical truths; they're historical truths and geographical and spiritual. I mean, there are just so many layers to this, and it's hard to explain. But I just want people to understand part of this journey for me, and so that brings me to the reason why I need to speak on the Amber Guyger case, because there is truly a disconnect that has taken place in our people based on some of the reactions that I'm seeing. people are, first of all, understandably, uh, not delighted by the 10-year sentence, seeing it as a mild sentence for taking someone's life after being convicted of murder. You would think she would serve more, but okay, I get it. Um, and then I see the young man, the younger brother of Botham John, uh, forgive and embrace Amber Guyger in open court. Now, before I proceed, I need people to understand, I don't often make videos on news stories, but there have been a handful this year that I had to really step up. I was compelled by the Holy Spirit to speak up on. And one was um, the Juicy Smollett, Jesse Smollett story, which I was given immediate discernment that it was indeed a distraction. I was given immediate discernment about that. Just as the story literally broke on the evening news, I heard the headline and I called it. It was a distraction, and I turned my attention away from it. But I kept hearing these stories, and so eventually I did a story on that, and then I also did a story on the Notre Dame fire, and then now I'm doing this one. So why am I doing this story? Why am I doing this video now? Why am I talking about the Amber Guyger case? Botham Jean was not a story I paid a lot of attention to initially. When the story broke, at that point, by that time, I'd already been well aware that our enemies have us in this cycle of pushing what I call race porn or rage porn down our throats on a daily basis. And it's like a buffet of stories of barbecue Becky and just different stories, and it's not just the unarmed shooting. I mean, there's variations, like the family, with the little girl who was accused of stealing a $5 doll. We've got just a whole rainbow of stories that are thrown at us every single day to just churn us up into this frenzied, angry, hysterical people who are constantly reacting to the stories instead of reacting to who's pushing the story. It's like reacting to the chain instead of reacting to who's yanking the chain. You understand? That's what we've been doing as a people. We react to the chain, but now who's yanking the chain? We won't stop and figure out who in the heck is yanking this chain. Why are these stories so prevalent? And why all of a sudden, after Trayvon Martin, we just had an onslaught of these stories every day. So there's clearly some type of something at work that is designed to confuse us, distract us, keep us angry. I mean, it's very clear to anybody that's looking. And so there's a decision you have to make when you see these stories. Either you're going to look at it or you're not. So this one I did not look at. I didn't pay much attention to. I knew about it. Kept seeing it, coming across my, you know, Twitter feed or whatever. I got off Facebook a long time ago. I don't have any other major social media. And so I've just kind of turned down the noise in a major way in my life. And I've decided that it's time to, be very, very decisive and discerning about what you allow into your headspace nowadays. And so that one I put on the shelf. I noticed it and I put it on the shelf. But then during the trial, my attention went a little bit deeper. And clearly it was something our enemies wanted us to see. It's almost like, when you want somebody to come to your store, you go buy a big neon sign. So clearly this was something based on the coverage and the trending and all that. That's part of how they control what we're talking about, what we're interested in, what we want to, do. And so I noticed it and I decided to pay attention. And at the end of the trial, as we all know by now, Botham Jean's younger brother gave a victim impact statement. And as he addressed Amber Guyger, he forgave her. He said he didn't want her to go to jail and that he wanted her to direct her life towards Christ. Then he got off the stand and he went over to her and embraced her. And that is when we as a people lost our minds. Lost our cover. People went bonkers. Because you don't understand that action that he took. Because that's not the action that you would have taken. But when you're seeing things from a spiritual perspective, you understand the truth of the scripture that says all things work together for the good of those who love the Most High. All things work together. So, those of you who were looking and listening and paying attention, and when you saw this, you didn't just see a Sambo trying to forgive Massa. I'm hearing all these references to this family and the people in the courtroom who are showing kindness to this woman. From the bailiff to the judge to the victim. And so I guess, black people are having one giant collective meltdown over this. And it's clear what impact our oppressors have had on us by the responses that I'm seeing. But let me share this with you. If you are hearing these words Sambo and Mammy and all of this. No, those are the slaves. Those are the slaves calling these people those words. And I don't know any of them personally, but I can personally vouch for the words that came out of Botham John's brother's mouth. He did exactly. So those of you who call yourself a Christian and have a problem with what he did exactly what he was supposed to do. So what if by chance, not even by chance, I can't say that, but what if you could just imagine this? I know this is what happened. I just need somebody to imagine this scenario. The Most High chose this young man from this family with this character and this relationship with him. He chose that man. Maybe it was his will. Like again, I say, I already know it was his will, but you need to just ponder this. You need to just give it a thought. Maybe it was his will that Amber Guyger got mixed up and the door just so happened to be open, or however she got into that apartment. But maybe his little brother was chosen to stand in front of the world and show the world as a child of Israel. And he is. Y'all may want to separate us because you was in slavery over there and we were in slavery over here, so y'all, we different. No, we're scattered from the same family. We're not different. We're related. Even the Muslim sisters and brothers over there in Africa, all over the place. The only difference is their captors practiced Islam and our captors practiced Christianity. And we're not either one of them, as some would have you to believe. We're Israel. They had to split us up and get us to take on these other religions and identities. I mean, it's very plain to understand that now, but people still won't put down the distractions. They keep reacting to the chain. But Amber Guyger was forgiven in accordance to the very standards and measure and example that Christ forgave us. And this is a simple principle, but we miss this. We miss it. We miss it by I don't know how much. Very little, but we miss it. We think we've got it all together, and then as soon as someone shows up and does exactly what Christ said we should do in the very fashion he told us to do it, we go, we don't need to be forgiving these people. We don't need to be giving them a pass. But that's not what Christ said do. You're doing it according to the way your oppressor says do it. And so therefore, You have become a product of your oppressor. That's why people are willingly calling themselves American descendants of slaves rather than by the name that was actually given to their ancestors, which in our case, I firmly believe I am a seed of Judah. I don't know about anybody, I don't speak for anybody else's genealogy. I'm still speculating about my own. But I've pieced enough together to understand at least uh at least a what's the word I'm looking for? I'm able to understand the migratory movement of our people. I may not know where my exact ancestors moved and how they moved, but I understand the migration of the Israelites out of Israel, which that's not taught in high school or any other type of education. The migratory movement of the Israelites. Why wouldn't that be taught as a part of world history? It's taught that Rome put an end to Israel in 70 AD. I don't know how much that's taught, but that's common knowledge. And where those people in that land went is where their descendants would be today. So if you don't know where you're from and where you've been, you certainly don't know where you're going. If you think that the furthest back you need to go to identify yourself is Jamestown, Virginia, or whatever other port your ancestors landed on, if you think that's as far back as you need to go, you're not worthy of an inheritance. Just telling it like it is. We put so much effort into trying to preserve the very thing that is killing us, when all we need to do is use some effort and time to go research who we are, and you'll understand why that young man had to forgive Amber Guyger. Because Yeshua taught that we should pray, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. That's what we have to understand. Now, there is a law in the law of Moses that speaks about what the debt is for someone who murders or kills someone either intentionally or by accident. We have laws that specify our people, Israelites. We have the law of Moses that specifies what the debt is if you accidentally kill somebody's cow or bull or sheep or whatever. There's a debt you have to pay according to the law of Moses. And Christ prayed that we should forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. He asked that we should pray that the Most High forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. So our debts are only forgiven to the extent that we are willing to forgive others, or to the extent that we have forgiven others. So I don't know about anybody else, and I don't even know about Amber Guyger. And I don't know about the young man, Mr. John, that prayed that she would, find Christ and forgave her. I don't know about him. But I know me, as for me, I owe a big debt, a huge debt to the Most High that I could never pay. Not in 12 lifetimes for the stuff that I've done that has violated His will for my life, has violated His word, has violated His truth. I owe a tremendous debt for the times that I repeatedly and willfully disobeyed, dishonored Him, and just violated His word. I mean, there was a time in my life not long ago where I just went there. I went there. I went in with sin. I draped myself in it. And I can gladly go give you a whole blow by blow of the things that I allowed myself to get involved with in this world. But I can tell you that at some point it may have been considered worse than accidentally walking in on somebody in the wrong apartment and mistaking them for myself, or for mistaking them for a robber. Not necessarily killing them, but I ain't never killed anybody, but I've done my dirt in the world. And at some point, you have to decide either you're going to keep waddling in the dirt or you're going to go wash your robe. I decided to go wash my robe. And that's why I'm talking to you today about this incident, about Amber Guyger, and about the disdain and the disgust people are showing this young man and their family for deciding to forgive as Christ commanded. And people are judging this. You don't know what that person has done in their life that they need to be forgiven for. You don't know what debt they owe the Most High that they're trying to cover by giving forgiveness to this woman. So, what you saw, or what you think you saw, was weakness. But what you saw was strength. What you saw was somebody working for a crown. What you saw was someone that doesn't care what the world has to say or think. I'm sure those people were not blind to all of the unarmed police shootings that have happened over the past 7-8 years. So there was a willful decision to forgive. And that is the same thing. Anybody expecting to come up out of this captivity and be saved from this destruction, anybody expecting to be delivered from that is going to understand what it means to forgive according to the instructions of Yeshua, not our own. I'm not going to sit here and judge you. I'm not going to sit here and put my behavior and my standards and all of this over you. You have a right to pursue your life exactly as you choose to. And I have a right to pursue mine exactly as I choose to. And I choose to follow Christ. And if you do too, we're on the same page. If we disagree, we need to figure out where do we disagree. Because one of us is right and one of us is wrong. People like to say nowadays, which is a total lie, well, you have your beliefs and I have mine, and they all lead to the same God. No, they don't. There's one way. See, all of these little sayings and quotes and things that we pick up off of the media and propaganda and all of these songs and stuff we listen to, we pick this stuff up and it programs us to believe something that is in complete, total, stark difference to what Yeshua said. And before you know it, we find ourselves believing it and acting on it. I had to stop myself. When I woke up, when I really woke up, I had to watch my words. Because I was still talking, like a millennial. Oh, girl, you're a diva. Nope, I couldn't say that anymore. Just different things that you have to literally take out of your vocabulary and turn into the truth. I literally had to reprogram my brain on how to speak, and I still, flip back into something every now and then, but I'm now a lot more conscientious of the words that I allow myself to speak, and I want people to understand there is a truth rising up. And what you saw in that courtroom today with Amber Guyger and Botham Jean's brother, and I'm sorry I don't know his name, I really need to give him that honor, because that's who, he's not just Botham Jean's brother, his name is Brant Jean. And this young man is a warrior for Christ, and he's a warrior for the message of Christ. And anyone rejecting him is rejecting Christ. His life is on display for everyone to see right now. This is what he was willing to do. Given those moments, he was allotted to stand and speak to his brother's killer, or to sit and speak to his brother's killer. That's what he chose to say. And there's a reason for that too. None of this is by chance or happenstance. This is what was intended to happen. Even as our enemies continue to lance blow after blow after blow after blow to the collective psyche and spirit of our people, this young man took the world by surprise when he chose to say, I forgive you. And if you don't understand why he did that, then you're going to be one of the ones who are going to be hearing those words. Depart from me. I never knew you. Because you don't know him. You don't know Christ. You don't know Yeshua. You speak his word, and you'll speak his name, and you'll just rattle it off. You don't know him. So, about 97% of you people out there calling yourselves Christians are probably devoid of the right to say you're a follower of Christ if you don't understand that. Or if you wouldn't be able to do that if that had happened to you. I'm just saying. I don't have time to mince words anymore. Time is wrapping up. And we're getting deceived as a people more and more every day. And they're throwing everything they've got at you. They're throwing Kanye at you. They're throwing President Trump and his impeachment at you. They're throwing just anything they can get you to talk about, between natural disasters that end up making the news. They're not reporting on 90% of this stuff that's happening in the world right now, but even more, even less. I mean, it's very, very little. You're gonna hear people are so caught up, and that should be your biggest sign right there. There's no reporting on the earthquakes that are happening regularly, large earthquakes on the daily, destructive, deadly earthquakes. The volcanic eruptions, the wildfires. Let's tell you about it. Depending on how much they think you need to know, they'll say what they have to say and point you back to your distraction. And back you go. Everybody's a comedian now. Everybody loves to laugh. As soon as something happens, people are hopping on social media, cracking jokes. Everybody needs to laugh. Ha 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 ha. So the time for laughter is over. I don't guess y'all got the memo. You notice a lot of these disasters are striking in areas that are recreational and or luxurious or exclusive areas and events, and it's all happening right in front of your eyes, but you don't see it. It says I'm gonna turn your feast days into mourning. How many disasters have we seen that hit on or near one of these pagan holidays or vain holidays? There's nothing to celebrate. People are suffering in this land. What is there to celebrate? This land is not at peace. This land is in turmoil. People are sick, dying, gun violence. You name it. Diseases. Meth addicts. Opioid, heroin addiction. This country has nothing to celebrate. Thousands of acres of farmland lost due to floods or fires. It's no time to celebrate. But people won't. They won't stop. They won't quit. But the Most High will put an end to it. So, for those of you who remain steadfast in your beliefs and opinions that this young man was out of order, well, I don't know. I pray that you will find clarity and give him some grace to try and understand why he did that instead of just judging it like everyone decided to do. Amber Guyger has been judged and found guilty of murder. Um, but look, we've all done our dirt. And we've all had to be forgiven at some point in time. David sent Bathsheba's husband Uriah to the front of the battle lines to ensure he would die so that he could take his wife. You know, Israel ain't clean. Israel's hands, we ain't no squeaky clean people. We done some dirt. That's why we in this captivity now. And the only people getting out of this captivity are the ones who understand that you gotta do it Yeshua's way. You have to. Ain't no sidestepping it. Ain't no shortcuts. Ain't no back doors. You gotta walk this out. Or be willing to walk it out. And take those steps every chance you get. So with that, I'm just gonna leave it there. You know, I don't have, like I said, I didn't have anything fancy to say. I just had to rap to y'all and get some things across and put this out in the atmosphere because time is wrapping up, and a lot of people are missing the mark, and I'm praying every day that I'm pressing towards that mark. But if you don't have a heart to forgive people, you way off mark, because that's like a baseline requirement for the kingdom. That's a baseline requirement. So if you can't meet that criteria, I don't know what kingdom you working to gain, but it's not Yahweh's kingdom. It's not. I promise you. So don't kid yourself. Go for the truth at all costs. You know, there's some of us that are just willing to go so far with it until we have to crush that part of our ego. And this was literally a moment this young man literally had to crush his ego to say what he said. Ego will never allow those words to come out of your mouth towards the person that took something as dear as your brother or other close family member. Come on now. Some of us are just elevating, okay? We're beyond this world. We're beyond what people think of us. We're beyond what people say about us. We don't care. Say what you will. We are following Christ, even if we have to walk alone, even if we have to look like fools, even if we have to look stupid, even if we have to endure bullying and being mocked and being gossiped about. We don't care. It's the kingdom or bust for us. I gave up trying to impress people a long time ago. So if you see me out here saying what I say and doing what I do, and you think this is for some type of egotistical purposes and I'm trying to get attention, you are sadly mistaken. I do this for the kingdom of Christ. Period. I don't need anybody, not one other soul on the planet, to believe what I believe, because I'm going if I go alone. Okay? That's how you know you're out of religion. Religion, you got to do what everybody else is doing. Faith, you got to walk on by yourself sometimes. You have to walk on by yourself. That's what led Yahushua into that wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. Faith. So, that's all I gotta say, y'all. I ain't got no scriptures or any other interesting anything to say. I had to get this out and speak this, and y'all just please look up. Look up. Our deliverance is nigh. Y'all take care. I love you. I love you, Israel. See you in the kingdom, I hope.